Welcome back. All right, so we're doing another season preview, and I'm wearing my. It's the first time I've actually worn this, the new Buffalo home jersey. So, not too shabby. I do like the new stripes. I think the new stripes are a good improvement, and of course the textured Buffalo. Perfect. Now things haven't been perfect in Buffalo for a long time, and if you're a Buffalo fan, you know this. And if you're expecting me to beat up on the Sabres, you might be disappointed. I think that the problem that Buffalo is going to have is the proposed divisions. If they were still in the Atlantic, who knows? We might be talking about them making a run at maybe a wild card spot. As it stands, I don't know. We'll see. And again, it comes through when we get to the big ads. You'll notice goaltending, defense. Now where the big additions were. It all comes down to how the lines come together, whether or not there's chemistry between each line, and how well things work out for their coach in his second year. Ralph Krueger getting his second year, and I think he deserves it. I honestly, I don't think that what happened with Buffalo this past season was on him. The general manager's been let go. Now Kevin Adams is in as general manager. He gets his first year as the general manager of the Buffalo Sabres. And sadly, the reverse retro that I do not have yet did not have the angry goat head on the front of it. It has it on the sleeves though, so that's still a win. The last three seasons, they had 62 points in 2017, 2018. 2018, 2019, they had 76 points. Prorated out for this year, they would have had 81 points if they'd continued to win and lose at the same rate. So the overall numbers are getting better. And when you look at the players who are gone off this roster, there isn't really anybody who's gone that I think fans are that upset with. Frolik, Johansson, Cahoon. Cahoon, there's some upset about that he went to Edmonton for as cheap as he did. I think Buffalo fans would have wanted to see him stick around for that same price if he'd been willing to play in Buffalo. But I think they're okay with who they got too. Larson, Wayne Simmons, of course, who was a rental, VC, and Sobotka. The fact that Simmons was a rental shows how bewildering things were for Buffalo. And yet, they were just barely behind Montreal. As interesting as things are with the NHL this year, and they've been very interesting, if Buffalo had managed to get in, okay, and if they were the team playing against Pittsburgh, and if they had upset Pittsburgh, is Kevin Adams the general manager right now? Do they make these big moves they've made? And would Montreal have a GM on the hot seat because they missed the play-in round? And would people be tearing apart Mark Bergevin? That's a question that I think we can ask. And I think it's an interesting one to ask. Now, the Hockey News, for their power ranking, they have Buffalo at 21st, which isn't that bad. It's not, I think, where you want to be. If you're Buffalo, you want to be top 16 because you haven't made the playoffs in a long time. But 21st isn't bad. Sports Forecaster had them 5th in the Atlantic. So that's still not in the playoffs. I have them 7th in the proposed division they're supposed to be in because it's a group of death. This is, and for people watching this, what does it mean group of death? If you don't watch the World Cup of soccer, first off, you're missing out because it's the best tournament of anything in the world. But in the World Cup, you will always have one group that when they reveal it, you go, wow, that is, because it's a random draw. Random. Ask people. People will tell you it's not that random. But I believe it's random, but there's others who believe it's not. But there's always one group that you look at all 4 countries that are in there and you go, wow, that whoever finishes 4th in that division is better than 1st in that division. And we may be looking at a situation where whoever finishes 5th or 6th in this division, whether you want to call it the East, the Atlantic, whatever you want to call it, they may be better than a team that finishes 3rd in another division. So that's reality, and it's a tough one for a Buffalo team that needs a break. This is a team that needs to start making some headway because Buffalo fans kind of got fed up last year, right? Now, in the too low category for players that I think are going to score at a better pace this year than they did last year, I have Taylor Hall. 65 games, 16 goals, 36 assists, 52 points. I don't think he hit his stride in Arizona, and he was having his struggles by his standards in New Jersey before that. Even in the return, it just didn't feel, I don't know, it just never suited with him in Arizona. So now he needs it to work in Buffalo. He's got a 1-year contract, and he needs to show, hey, I'm not, periphery player in important games, and I'm still capable of being that Hart Trophy level player that I was before. Jeff Skinner did not score enough, and he has to bounce back. And again, this is about points per game and goals per game too. 59 games, 14 goals, 9 assists, 23 points. That contract is a problem. I'm not going to pretend it isn't. But Skinner has to score at a better pace than he did last year. And I think Jokiharju, is going to get some more special teams time, and I think his points should start coming up, especially if, at some point, Buffalo does pull the trigger on a Ristolainen deal. I don't know if it's going to happen or not, but if they do, then his numbers from last year, 69 games, 4 goals, 11 assists, 15 points, it's going to be low. And I think Jokiharju has already shown he can play at both ends of the ice. I think he was a steal out of Chicago. I'm still not sure I understand the Nylander for Jokiharju deal. I didn't understand it at the time. There's a video on the channel on it where I honestly thought Jokiharju was one of the future top fours in Chicago, but Chicago fans will be in the comment section mentioning Mitchell and mentioning Bowden and saying, because we have them, and I understand, it's just you can't have too many defensemen in the NHL. The rookie to watch, I went with the easy out, Dylan Cousins. Dylan Cousins is going to play at the World Juniors, and he could be absolutely fantastic there, and it could be the start of a very good season for him. A World Junior tournament this year, it feels like it's going to be very important. And so Dylan Cousins, it could, really buoy his self-confidence. And adding him to this lineup, this is a team that may be able to score a bunch of goals. And they didn't last year. Last year they scored 2.8 goals per game, which was 21st in the league. Goals against, they allowed 3.12 per game, which was 22nd. So those are both problematic. Now, with Buffalo, their special teams wasn't really any better. 18.88% power play, which was 20th, and their penalty kill, 74.59%, which was 30th. So 1 in every 4 power plays against them was successful. You can't win with those kinds of numbers. So their penalty kill has to get better. Adding Toby Reeder should help there. He's not one of the big adds, but that penalty kill's got to change. One of the players they added, maybe he ends up being a big penalty killer as well. Now, the big additions are Taylor Hall, who, of course, has a relationship with Ralph Kruger. Eric Stahl, who has a previous relationship with Skinner, right? So the fact that Hall's familiar with the coach and Stahl's familiar with his future line mate in Skinner, this could really help, especially as Buffalo tries to set up so they have 2 good scoring lines. And then Cody Eakin, good you'd think third line center in him. And I think there's maybe room for a few more goals than he got last year. I think he only had 4 last year. He can hit double digits in goals. It can happen. So that's pretty solid additions right there. And there are others I could have put up there, but I try to limit it to 3. I'm just going to put 3. I'm going to try to stick to that throughout these previews, right? Their core 6, so this is your young core that you're building around. Eichel, absolutely. Olofsson, I know Olofsson got off to a really hot start. I know things kind of cooled down for him. Olofsson is still one of their best wingers. I didn't include Reinhart because I think Cousins is more key to their future right now. Younger player than Reinhart as well. And then on the blue line, I went with Dahlin and Jokiharju because, again, Jokiharju I think has room to grow, and Dahlin is going to be nominated for Norris Trophy sooner or later, and I think it's going to be sooner. Ullmark I put as the goaltender because the next big hype I have up there is Ukko, Pekka, Luukkonen. Now, the hype is there if you're a Buffalo fan now, but I'm talking about like when he comes over, when he starts playing, I could see there being a lot of hype around him because Buffalo, their goaltending is the issue, right? That's, in my eyes, I like Ullmark. I don't know that I like him as a goaltender for a team that's going to be in the playoffs. And that's just, my opinion. And again, they've still got Hutton as the backup, and you're going to need 2 goaltenders this year for a very squashed, in all likelihood, squashed schedule. I mentioned the coach and the GM, so we'll move on to the next, which is glass half full. The glass half full is they've added some depth, and Dahlin's a year older. Eichel's going to get better. Eichel's already one of the best players in the league. He's going to continue to improve. And I don't know that his point totals go up, but I think his all-around game will improve. And I think he has the potential to be the face of this franchise for a long time to come. And it's important they have some kind of positive results because he's been very vocal about wanting to win and not being particularly happy with the losing going on in Buffalo. And there's two ways to look at that. You can either say, oh, he's just whining, or, well, good, we have a player that wants to win. There's nothing more frustrating than after a losing season having a player say, yeah, we had a good year, I think we'll be better next year, and yeah, no, everything's fine. And where you're thinking, come on, you gotta be, aren't you mad about all the losing? So Eichel's mad about all the losing. Good. Now go out there and win. And of course, the glass half empty, it is the division of death. It is not going to be easy for them to win. Now, in Buffalo, getting off to fast starts has been a thing for 2 years running. They want to do that again and maintain it. They were 9-2-2 in October last year, 3-8-3 in November, so it crashed pretty quickly. 5-7-2 in December, 5-5 in January, and then February 7-6-1. So January and February, they were okay, but they were already so far out of the playoffs it didn't matter. And then in March, as they went into the break, the pause, they lost 3 out of 4. If they'd won 3 out of 4 here, we would be talking about them going into a play-in round, but they lost 3 out of 4, so they didn't make it. So, and that's after they added at the deadline too, which was I still find that so bizarre that they added at the deadline. But hey, I don't think they gave up anything that was blue chip to do so. So, all right. Their record against teams that are projected to be in their division. Against Boston, they were 0-3 last year. Against New Jersey, 2-0. So the Devils, they beat. The Islanders, 0-1-1. The Rangers, 1-1 against them. Against Philadelphia, 0-2. Against Pittsburgh, 2 wins and 1 loss. And against Washington, 1-1. The combined record against teams that they're projected to be in the same division with, 6-9-1. So it's going to be tough. It is not going to be an easy road for them. But I will say this. Do I think they can beat New Jersey? Probably. Do I think Buffalo's going, or Boston's going to erode a little bit this year? Probably. There's the potential that they steal a win or two from Pittsburgh, Philly, and maybe they stay in this race a little bit longer than we're expecting them to. So we'll see. It all depends on how well the new players mesh with everybody else. It all depends on whether or not their goaltending takes that next step and proves it's good enough, and whether or not their defense pulls it together. Because when you're 22nd in goals against and you're 30th on the penalty kill, you're not getting near the playoffs, especially against these 7 teams. So those numbers have to improve for them to have a chance. But with a new GM and with a new approach to things, who knows? Maybe this is the year that Buffalo proves everybody wrong and finally makes the playoffs. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.